Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
Now, here's your host, Ed Cohen.
It's Ed Cohen, a broadcast host on Global TV Network. I'm in San Diego, California, and our very special guest today is Robyn Hatcher in New York City. Hello and welcome again, Robyn Hatcher.
Hey, Ed, good to see you. Thank you for having me again. Great to be here.
So I wanted to have this opportunity to ask you about not only some media training, because everybody uses Zoom and whatever now for everything ad nauseum almost. And of course, the idea is, how do you look on TV? Because this is really TV. It's not a phone call, it's TV.
Yeah.
And it becomes permanent. So it's pretty scary sometimes when you think about all that. So holiday time is coming up real fast here, today being 25th. Is it the 25th?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, boy. And a month from now is Christmas. Wow. So a lot of people are...
Today's the 24th, actually.
Oh, 24th. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people cannot travel or are afraid to, and then others are getting on a plane and going, masked up perhaps, some
hopefully
not. But how do you have a difficult conversation? You know, some family members, and then but let's talk about business. How about a difficult situation at work, even if it's a work from home situation?
Yeah.
So how do you tip people on what to say or what not to do?
Yeah, for over a decade, I've been working with corporate clients, Fortune 500 companies, all of these companies around communication. And what I like to call it is like there are always these hidden glitches in communication that can undermine performance, undermine families. And so it's so interesting that with this pandemic and with the quarantine, stress, I'm sure, is on the rise. Everybody knows how stress is rising all the time. And with stress comes our lack of ability to be able to handle something that might have triggered us lightly before is going to start feeling like a real punch in the chest. So first of all, you really want to know that when you're with your families this Thanksgiving, when you're with your colleagues over Zoom or in person, stress has a lot to do with how that person is going to respond to you. And with this added stress for all of us, things might get a lot more touchy. Something that you may have said easily several months ago could start a firestorm in a family or in work. So those are some of the things that I'd love to point out and talk about.
Okay, so in your earlier programs with us on media tips and media training, you talked about deflection or redirect. Is that what you're referring to now?
Well, some of it is one of the things I would love people to understand more and more is to be more curious, and to listen with curiosity, because I feel like we do not do that anymore. There's a really great framework for listening, and some people listen to win. They listen to see how they can win an argument. And when you're sitting around the dinner table and you're listening to somebody and your mind is going, oh, I can't wait to say this because it's going to sound better than what they just said, so I can win. And we do that in offices, we do that in families. And then some of us, we sit around and we listen to fix, so we listen only for the information that is going to help me be able to fix that situation, and it's like, yeah, not to stereotype, but that's a whole like male female kind of thing too. It's like, that's what comes up a lot with men and women, is like women sometimes will talk just to talk and get something out. And then the male's response is to try to fix what they're talking about. And all they really wanted to do was dump, And so when people are listening to fix, then you're also cutting off something. So I would love everybody to go into situations listening to learn. You listen to see what you can learn from that other person. listen to see what you can learn about how they're feeling, what they're actually saying, how you might be able to understand where they're coming from and align with them rather than try to fix them and win over them.
So if I can just zero in for a moment about family discussions, spouses, let's just
Mm,
say, or the cousin or the sister or the brother with whom there's been tension in the past, or
yeah.
oh, you always do that, or you every time I bring this up, you always say that, you know. Okay, so that is like lighting a match in a dry forest.
Oh, yeah.
And how do you fix that? How would you advise?
Yeah.
I mean, other than take a deep breath.
Yeah, exactly. That's the first thing, is to take a deep breath and to add that level of curiosity. I want to coin a phrase for everybody. I feel like whenever you're in front of another human being, you want to look at them with that curiosity as though you were an archaeologist and you're looking at a brand new species. And that new species is called Homo unlike us. Because
It has nothing to do with sex, right?
no, 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 no. I know, it's like, it's like the archaeological or whatever it is. It's like, I'm a lot like us. And it's just like, you know, that person is so completely different than me. I may think that I know what they're doing. I know they speak the same language. I know they even have the same parents as I do. But their life experience is so different. I want to get to know why they would say something that offends me so much. And so when you get curious, it's a different mindset. You're not on the defensive. You're trying to explore. And then with curiosity, then you might ask a question. And the question could be, I mean, after you've taken the breath and like not gotten all that defensive energy out there, but that breath, that question might be, I'm wondering why you think that. Or I'm wondering why you said that. I'm curious. Is there something else that you're trying to say? And so those are some of the ways that you can show your curiosity. The other thing is like always, and it's always helpful to do a little bit of love. And that's what I call my love communication, which is you want to listen first, listen to learn. You want to say something that shows that you understand them, because that will calm them down. Then you want to say something that shows that you validate a little bit of what they have to say. That's the V, V is for validating them. And then the E is to express or explore with a question. And so you can say something, if somebody says something really outrageous, you can say, I kind of understand why you would say that. And it sounds like that makes sense based on what you're doing. And you're based on how much you work. I can understand that. And you're right. And you want to use the conjunction and not but, and from where I stand, from what I know about the situation, for what I understand, I kind of think this way. And then you express it. So what you've done with that formula is you've diffused their hormones that are raging and feeling like they need to win, because as soon as you validate them, as soon as you understand them, that starts to give them hopefully a little bit of a feel good hormone. And when they've got that feel good, then they're not going to be fighting back as heavily and as quickly.
So thank you for that. Um, let's talk about a scenario where the boss and I'm not in the office. Um, historically, my office is 10 feet down the hall from the CEO, and we always saw each other, okay, and always exchanged tidbit information and just, sort of what I call relationship links.
Right.
In addition to, all right, I scored this and I've got a problem here, and blah, blah, blah. So, and then something comes up on the work from home situation where there's been no physical contact at all for 9 months. And it's wearing thin. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And So what do you do? How do you handle that?
Well, first of all, I want to address something else before I address that. I am really a big promoter, and I want to share with as many organizations and companies as possible that they need to install what I like to call virtual water cooler activities.
Ooh, good idea.
So, yeah. So virtual water cooler activities are things that are going to eliminate that lack of proximity. And so that if you're having a big meeting, say like, because I know a lot of my clients, all they're talking about is they have all these meetings after meetings after meetings. And then you're all on this video chat, but there's no water cooler moments. So you have to find ways to create water cooler moments before these things happen, because that is the cause as to why people's tensions and their triggers are so short. So like for instance, in a meeting, a water cooler moment would be like before a meeting, do some sort of an icebreaker, and not those corny icebreakers, but a really great icebreaker that maybe ask them what mood they're feeling and describe their mood in the terms of a weatherman. So something fun, and they can do it in the chat or they can do it verbally. And I also would recommend having breakouts before the meetings, break out the people so that they can have those water cooler conversations. Then they come back to the meetings. There are other ways and tips that I have for water cooler meetings so that this situation doesn't get as volatile. But say, so this is happening, you're in this situation with your boss and something has come up. One of the ways is to, of course, after you breathe and after you try a love conversation with your boss, it might be a little bit difficult, but you want to say something like, vulnerability is what is missing in all of these situations. And I feel like it's perfectly okay in a situation like that to say, under the circumstances, stress has really gotten the best of me. Is it okay if we table this conversation right now and go and reschedule so that, because right now I'm feeling a little tense, I'm feeling a little stressed, and then just name the feeling that you're having. And then say, I would love to ask if it's okay for us to postpone this conversation and then come back. I feel like that one of the things that we're noticing, we're noticing across the boards, are the companies that are doing best are the ones that the CEOs and the management are being utterly vulnerable and talking with compassion, asking compassionate questions about their staff and their employees, asking how they're really feeling instead of just dumping stuff on them. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but that's one way of doing it. And I feel like people don't do that enough. They feel like they have to just maintain where they are and and get there and talk and do this. And when you're not in the space to do it, it's not helpful. And it's just going to dig yourself into a deeper hole.
So about the boss being human and not an authoritarian leader, would it help if the boss just on the spur of the moment seemingly talks about something that puts the boss in a vulnerable place in the minds of others, like something happened at home, or slipped, hurt his back, or her back, or
Right.
they, something
Totally. Yeah.
that the staff don't expect, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Those are
And
specific.
that's an icebreaker.
That's an icebreaker, or to have their kids come into the shot.
Right.
My wife is out, and here are the kids. My wife is working in another room, and it's my time to babysit. Those are the kind of things that really
It's real.
definitely
Yeah.
break the ice.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And so that, are you listening out there, all you CEOs? That is a good idea. So,
Yeah.
Robyn, let's jump aside for a second and tell me about some of not the clients' names, but the type of clients that you've had in the past 30, 60 days or so. And everyone's dealing with some kind of stress situation. How does a manager or an employee deal with performance standards that used to be in effect, and now are they still in effect? And how to all this is about communication, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I think one of the biggest complaints I've been getting from clients, and I have a large training that I'm doing in a couple of weeks for a large corporation, and the feedback, and I did a survey, and some of the feedback that I've gotten is really around giving feedback to performers who are not performing. So that is a large issue, and there are two ways to do that. Like there are going to be employees who take advantage of the situation and say, oh, I'm so stressed, I can't do this, and that's what's happening. And there are people that are truly so stressed that that's what's happening. So I have a particular client who is a single mom, and she is back-to-back meetings all the time. Schools are open, schools are closed. It's like she can't trust that her son is doing the work when he's on his own. And it's a huge stressor for her. And so for her, I actually have a meeting with her manager to see how we can work this out so that she doesn't come off, I mean, her manager is being understanding, but so that she doesn't come off as being underperforming, and to how to really, what I'm going to talk about is how to extricate her from some of these meetings. Does she have to be at all of these meetings? How can she deliver her work and still be respected, but maybe not show up all the time? So those are some of the things that you want to do. And then for the people who are truly not performing, there are ways to ask those curious questions. So, and there's another model that I love, a book called Crucial Conversations. So sometimes it's really important in a situation like that to have a crucial conversation with that person. And what that means is, look, it's been 2 months. I understand, we're going to mix it with love a little bit. I understand that there's a lot of stress. You're a single parent. I'll use her as an example. And we've had a lot of meetings. I understand. And in some of the work that you're doing, some of the things that you're saying is true. We do need to cut back on the meetings. And now here's where the crucial conversations comes in. And 5 months ago, I asked you for this report, and it's still not here.
Oh, boy.
Last week, I asked you for these 3 names to be vetted. Didn't get done. Yesterday, you showed up for the meeting 20 minutes late. Though I understand all the things that's coming up, what I'm starting to wonder is, where is your commitment to this program and to this work? And I'm starting to wonder if this pandemic and this quarantine and this stress is an excuse for you. This is what I'm thinking. So, please let me know if I've gotten something wrong. Let me know if there's some other reason why these are happening. And then you give it to that other person to respond to.
So I notice that you don't make threats.
Right. Threats do not work.
Right.
Yeah, it's been shame, threats. I mean, people have tried it for years, but it doesn't work. And what it does is, especially if, and I've worked for a lot of companies where they have difficulty in firing their people, so what that does is, if you give a threat, what you've just asked for is that person to adopt some very passive aggressive behaviors that are going to just take you down another way.
So, and now a word from our co-sponsors. Our programs wouldn't happen without the wonderful support of our advertisers. Here they are.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
Cube Monk, featuring the world's first smart cube. Track your goods with our advanced GPS system. Welcome to the future of moving and relocation at cubemonk.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by heirs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at heirs.com.
Insured Nomads provides protection and peace of mind, with health insurance, travel insurance, group, or tailored insurance for the globally mobile. Visit us at insurednomads.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Hi, my name is Christine. I'm a nurse from the Philippines, and I got to know IAS through Worldwide Health Staff Solutions. And I want to thank IAS, especially to Matthew, for helping me get my car stress-free, headache-free. And so I just want to show you the car that I got. So it's a RAV4 XLE 2020.
As an expat moving to the USA, relocating is exciting, but it can also be stressful. Getting a car, truck, or SUV for personal transportation is usually a high priority. That's where International Auto Source comes in. We make getting the vehicle you want for your work assignment or academic program easy, so you're ready to drive when you arrive. Our product specialists have helped over 50,000 expatriates with their personal transportation needs, making us the largest international auto retailer in the world. International Auto Source gives you flexible payment options to buy, lease, or rent a vehicle from the world's leading auto brands, arrange financing on a purchase or lease without a U.S. credit history, social security number, or driving record, Get full insurance coverage and get approved easily through our low-rate factory-backed financing programs. And because we're an authorized distributor of the world's leading automotive brands, our no-haggle prices are competitive, and the buying experience is hassle-free. We'll even guarantee your new vehicle will be ready the day you arrive. With over 20 years of experience in the global community, we are the vehicle experts for expats. We are International Auto Source.
So what about the conversations between women? Not superior or inferior positions, sort of equal, as opposed to conversations that guys would have with other men.
What type of conversations are you talking about?
Well, let's say at work
Mm-hmm.
or about work.
Yeah.
All right, like something like, this is my job, not yours. Keep your nose out of it. Or listen, I don't tell you about what to do. I see what you're doing, and I wonder why you're doing that or why you're not doing something. And I'm sure you're looking at what I'm doing, and So how can people have these kinds of confrontations and are not? How do you avoid them? That's probably a dumb question, though. So
it's
say
not a dumb question. I mean, there are a couple of things involved there. First of all, like what I always tell my clients or suggest my clients to do is to create a bank account of your relationships, so that you've got money in the bank. And what that means is to use as much time as you can to acknowledge another person. Bring out, tell people when they're doing a good job. Tell people that you like what they're doing. Create relationships that are not work involved. Talk about their families, talk about things, so that's the money in the bank. So that when something starts to rub the wrong way, you've got a cash deposit, and people are not going to be as reactive. Now, given the fact that some people do not do that, then you have this situation, then it goes back to that becoming that homo unlike us, what is going on? And so what you want to think about is reframing it. And what I like to tell people about reframe is, okay, this person just said something, ask me a question that seems like she's going a different way. I'm going to reframe it. I'm going to say that she is not trying to undermine me, that she is really just curious. And that's going to not get my hackles up. And I'm going to respond in a way that says that she's just being curious, because that's a way of assuming positive intent, which I think that we don't do enough. And when we assume positive intent, there's that quote that I'm going to butcher, I'm sure. Don't treat people like they are, but treat them like you want them to be, and they will become who they should be, something like that. So when you start treating people as the way that you think they should be, then sometimes they start to act a little bit differently. So if you can get into that conversation and not engage in what you think the intent is behind that, and engage from a place where, yeah, that person has my best interest, that kind of diffuses that feeling. So a lot of it is, yeah, it may be coming from that other person. We can't change that other person. The only thing that we can change is our reaction to that other person. So how can we then look at ourselves and say, how am I going to change my reaction to that in this split second by taking a deep breath, breathing? Oh, you know what? I know that person's a single mother. I know that she's stressed. Maybe something really happened at home that created her to ask that question in that tone of voice. So I'm going to assume that it has to do with something that happened at home that caused her to ask that question. And I'm just going to answer it as if it were a real question,
So what about people who are very different, say, from another culture, another religion? How they dress is different. Again, this is a work environment, online, and people come at situations with baggage, but also their own ways that they've had all their lives, or ways of acting and understanding things, or expression that
Right.
they're they're into now at 35, 40 years old. And yet uh, I'm different than you, and we're both different from that person over there. And how do you deal with that?
Yeah. So, what you're getting at is that there are a lot of people that have unconscious biases, and some people have conscious biases, and that's always going to be a challenge. And what I like to share with people is when they understand the brain science behind what that exists, why that exists, it becomes a little bit easier to navigate. And the brain science is that we are a tribal species. We have always been a tribal species, and that tribal speciesness has led to our survival. So evolution created this innate system in our brains to like people that look like us, because those are the people that are going to protect us. Those are the people that are going to help us survive. So that part of the brain is still in existence today. And so to know that your reaction to someone has to do with your brain wanting to survive can sometimes help the other person diffuse whatever that feeling is. And so then you have to look and say, okay, that person is outside of my tribe. So some part of my brain is thinking that it's going to hurt me. And so then you want to look at the positive things that person can give value to. So what are some of the things that are different but good? What are some of the things about you that are different to that other person? So know that that person also wants to survive, and you are outside of their tribe. And so sometimes that knowing that can be helpful. And the other thing is just saying, okay, talking to your brain, that person does not dress like me or look like me or sound like me, but he is not, or she is not going to hurt me in this work environment. So it's really a question of continually having that conversation with yourself about your biases, and know that they're coming from hopefully trying to help you survive. So you can talk to yourself and you say, thank you, brain. Thank you so much for trying to help me survive through this. And I'm going to explore what it is that I'm so afraid of, what it is that I have such a reaction to. What is it? Really, what is it that I'm afraid of? What is it that bothers me? And really investigate that. And then you want to even have an opportunity to say, okay, that's what happens. That's what my brain is doing. And I have to work with that person.
So you mentioned brain science.
Mm-hmm.
Get a little bit deeper on that. Does that mean just how it works, how your brain works?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much research now on neuroscience, and I am not a doctor, or don't even play one on TV, but there is a lot of research now about how the brain has evolved and what it does in reaction to stimuli that comes in from the outside. And so that's one of the things about that whole the tribal species. So our brain has this little part in the brain called the amygdala, and that is like what I just realized is it's like the Secret Service agency, and so you've got like your own little Secret Service in your head, and the Secret Service's job is to go out and look for something that is a threat. Because if there's something a threat, they need to take care of it right away to protect whoever it is that they're hired to protect. That's what our amygdala does. It goes out and it looks for anything that looks like a threat. Unfortunately, what happens with the amygdala is that it hasn't been updated into what is an actual threat and what it perceives as a threat. So it's looking at things that it perceives as a threat based on information from your childhood, based on information from books that you've read, based on information from all kinds of past and even like evolutionary. So it's based on information of the fact that that person doesn't look like me. So it's a threat. So that little tiny, it's a really tiny part of the brain, but it uses 2/3 of its resources to look for and perceive threats. So that's what's happening in your brain whenever you meet a new person. And so when we know that, it's like, okay, that's what's happening. How can I breathe? How can I talk to that person? How can I find some commonality and ask enough questions? Because like when you look at somebody who looks completely different, if you find out that, and these are some great studies that people have done, even with Israeli and Palestinian children, when they put them in the same room together and they find out all of the common things that they have in common, and they think, oh, we're so much alike. And so that's what you do when you get to that place and you say, I'm having a reaction and I'm suspecting that it has to do with the biases in my head or my Secret Service person going out for threat. How can I now de-escalate that threat by finding out how similar we are or what we have in common, or like maybe we even like the same foods. That's one way you can start dealing with that.
Well, thank you for doing that. Now, where in the head is that amygdala? Is it over here or up?
Yeah, I can send you a picture. I actually have a slide with it.
I mean, if sometimes you get an itchy head and you scratch, right, and it's either here or there. Is that something?
I think it's a little bit too deep for that. It's like you have to be really banging on your head for that.
We have to lighten up. I've been taking notes. I'm old school here, writing notes here. So I've got arrows going from tribe to neuro.
I'll send you a picture of the amygdala.
Well, I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I wish you a happy Turkey Day. And
what are you doing? Are you celebrating with people, without people?
Basically, without. And we are going to walk into Little Italy. I'm in downtown San Diego, so about a mile walk, and we may get a slice of pizza for lunch. And then at dinner, we were going to cook our own small bite size turkey stuff. And that's enough.
Yeah. Yeah, lucky that you have good weather there.
Yeah. I wish it would rain, but we need the rain. Yeah. But it's 70, at night it gets chilly, about 50. So everything's relative.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Boston. I'm very familiar with lousy weather.
Right.
And I couldn't wait to leave town, frankly. So, that was back in 1980 when I went to LA. And then I haven't wanted to go back at all, but have on business, of course. But
seduced by the weather.
Yeah. So, Robyn Hatcher, so what's your website? Tell our audience how to get in touch with you and learn more about your beautiful business.
Learn more by visiting me on LinkedIn. Reach out on LinkedIn, say hello, write a comment. We want to connect. Tell me you saw me here. And that's Robyn Hatcher at LinkedIn. And my website is robynhatcher.com. So
yeah, that's HATCHER.
And ROBYN.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
The link. Thank you very much. Happy holiday.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Ciao.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.